Well, good morning and welcome to Senior Center Television. I am your host, Kathy Mitchell. It is Thursday, October 26th, 2017, and my guest today is artist Robert Yale Richardson. Bob, the first question before we even start with this interview about art and organizations. Yale is such a terrific name. We have to know why. Yes, where that came from.
Yale is an uncle that on my father's side who actually died in an auto accident 6 months before I was born.
Okay.
So I received the middle name, and
Okay.
from what I know, he was a really great guy. So.
Okay. It's a great name. It's a great name for an artist, by the way.
Yes.
Robert Yale Richardson. But I'm going to call you Bob today.
Yeah.
And we start as we always do. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, I retired about 3 years ago from being a graphic artist for 35 years at Tidewater Direct, which is out in West Branch, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And so from being a graphic artist, I can honestly say I started back when they were using lead type,
Mm-hmm.
and moved in through the what they call the cold type era,
Right.
and into the digital era of today.
Mm-hmm. And what is your background in terms of education?
I went to the University of Iowa.
And what did you study?
Graphic arts
You studied
and arts in general. Back then, my art was concentrated on ceramics.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of pottery
Mm-hmm.
that didn't sell from those years back.
So everybody home now?
Yes.
It's okay. Did you study under Bunny by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Bunny McBride, by the way.
Bunny McBride, but I was Chuck Hines
Oh,
was
of
more
course.
my direct professor.
Of course.
I was undergraduate
Uh-huh.
at that time.
Yeah.
And back then I would draw some, but
Mhm.
not as much. It was more, over the years, it was easier to do drawing and painting
Mm-hmm.
than to keep going in ceramics.
Keep going, sir. Now I'm cheating here because I did go to your lecture a couple
Okay.
weeks ago, so I also know that you do stained glass.
Yeah,
You
I did do a stretch of stained glass.
Mhm.
Actually, I want to back up on my,
Oh, sure.
with one of my ceramics teachers. I started taking ceramics in high school in
Mhm.
Davenport
Mhm.
at the Davenport Museum,
Oh, sure.
and with Carl Christensen
Okay.
was the teacher there.
Okay.
And I have quite a few pieces of his pottery.
Mhm.
Sure.
So you have a beautiful collection.
Yeah, I have a real nice collection of
Mhm.
those.
Okay.
So,
Well, what I want to ask you this, these are sort of jumping off points. So you studied ceramics, really good teachers, by the way. And did you study stained glass or did you teach yourself?
I taught myself.
You did.
My older brother was doing it, and I kind of thought, oh, this is interesting, and ventured into it. I think I read a book or two and ventured into it.
Uh-huh.
And some of the technology has changed from today,
Mhm.
or from then. Back then, you'd cut things and do the grinding to get it down. That was pretty much all by hand.
Right. So
Now you can get these nice little water.
God. Everything's done. Yeah, everything's being done for you now. It's like
quite a bit.
Whereas the handwork is really important, and that's why I wanted to ask you. So you studied ceramics, you did a lot of glass, and then you moved to what I call draftsmanship for drawing, graphite, and we'll talk about this in more detail later. Pen and ink and watercolor. What did you learn from working in ceramics and glass that you have been able to apply to these other mediums that you do now?
I don't know what I brought over from those mediums. I would say the one thing in doing the stained glass is drawing out, say, like a window design. In fact, I have a nice collection of designs they've never finished
Mm-hmm.
into glass. But, you know, it's drawing it out full size with, I would do ink washes
Mm-hmm.
to kind of give an idea of the color.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the lines are in either pencil or ink, you know, so you know where to cut and piece together.
Okay, so a sense of balance and color.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, and the drawing part
The
of it.
drawing, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The other thing I want to ask, I'm really interested in the graphics because I was a graphics artist as well for many years, and I too was on the cusp. So at first everything was set up the letters, roll the ink, and it was awful. And then a point where it was all done by hand, and then finally digital, but it was hideous. For those of us out there, no graphics, it was Helvetica bold and it all ran together. It was, you know, finally then there were 150 beautiful fonts, but by the time I was no longer doing graphics, but you moved, there's something that I did take from those experience with graphics and was able to apply to my mixed media and the art that I do. What did you take from your 38 years in graphics that you are applying right now to your ink and your graphite and your watercolors?
Well, I use a few digital techniques to, well, first, a lot of my watercolors are from photographs.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that.
But I have been working more and more from real life. Now that I'm retired, I have the time to sit outside during the day and paint rather than having to do it in the middle of winter
Yeah.
at a drawing board.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about. In fact, we're gonna now move to what you're doing right now. And I always ask this. You know, I studied painting, and I moved to three-dimensional in the '60s, and I've never turned back. I've talked to other artists who started in other medium, and then they've discovered something else which they really love. I've talked to painters who only do digital now. You know, what is it about, especially because watercolor is actually one of the most difficult mediums you can use, and what is it that you went from something so solid like glass and pottery? What is it about watercolor now that you've really focused on it and you're really not looking back?
Well, I would say my primary reason is my dad was a watercolor artist.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an architect and out of Davenport, and in fact, he has two buildings here in town. He has the zoology building and the main library.
Are you kidding? He did both of those?
He did both those.
Wow. So you see your dad every day?
Often enough. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did he influence you? What did he teach you things, or what did he do?
Not so much teaching me as I inherited his some of his materials and his paint box and his
lovely.
Brushes.
That's lovely.
So I used the brushes. I've used up a lot of the paint was dried up, but it's been used up onto newer paints. But
Did he have those really beautiful brushes that now cost a fortune? Most people can't afford.
actually, they're kind of a mix of blick brushes and yeah. He did a lot of his painting when he was in college.
Okay.
But after he retired, he did a few. But I kind of regret that he didn't pursue it as much in retirement as I think he could have.
Yeah. By the way, I'm interested. Do you have a lot of his architectural plans?
Not his plans.
You didn't hear any of those?
Well, those stayed with the business.
They did. Okay.
Yeah. I think for legal reasons, they have to be all in file.
They have to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're archives.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at your show downstairs, and our viewers will be seeing, as we're talking, they will be seeing some of your paintings. I've noticed that you are really drawn to the outdoors.
Yes.
I've noticed it's the basis to most of your subjects. What is it about scenic painting that really draws you?
I could say it in a way. It's kind of a spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah. it's, to really, to feel one with the new nature is, or one with the universe. I go for a walk in nature. I don't, not so much go to a church.
And I do notice that a lot of your scenes are rural scenes.
Yeah, rural. A lot of them are Iowa. In fact, I could probably tell you the location of most of the things.
Do you have a favorite location?
No, not particularly. Although I do know there are quite a bit along Lower West Branch Road.
Okay.
Only because I drove, for 35 years I drove back and forth to West Branch every work day.
So you probably noticed a lot of things.
Yes.
A lot of those. But you grew up in Davenport, and there's some amazing scenes on the river. All those old mansions, and they're pretty extraordinary. Did you ever do any paintings of those?
None of those, no.
None of those?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, now we're going to get to the big debate, plein air versus photography. And this is something that I was really amazed how many artists really do a lot of scenic through photography. So when do you choose to do plein air, and when do you go, forget it, it's cold, I'm taking a couple nice photographs, I'm working in my studio. But why does it sometimes demand that you have to do plein air, and sometimes so these are why, there's several whys in there there's several whys in there.
So I was a photographer first before I really delved into the painting as much as I do now. And so I have a lot of photographs.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I take different photographs if I'm going to do a watercolor from it than if I'm taking it as a photograph.
Okay.
There's just things that don't translate, or maybe it's the difficulty level that you can't. Some of the zoom in and fine detail gets a little lost in a watercolor that maybe the more of a wide angle view of things. And definitely if you're doing a plein air, it is a more wide angle view of the world.
Right.
You don't have the Ada going down on almost microscopic level that you can do with a camera.
Have you ever felt really disappointed? You're going, God, I really want to do this plein air, but the situation is such I can't. I have to do it through photographs, and it didn't come out as well as if it had been if I'd been outside doing it.
Yeah, that and there'll be times where I go somewhere and you take all of your equipment with you and you sit down and you think this is a great place to paint, and then you're done. You get up. You go somewhere else, oh, I wish I would have been over here. Yeah. But a lot of times, so if I do plein air, it's someplace I've been before, and I've kind of scoped it out and figured this is a good angle. This is a place to be, and the advantage of photography is you can take the picture and go.
That's right, and you can hold on to it. So 6 years down the line, you go, gee, I'd like to do a painting of this now.
Oh, yeah.
And I have these photographs, whereas the plein air, it might not even be there anymore. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that is also a big debate.
There's a painting in my show that it's a barn painting that I called it no longer there.
Because it's no longer,
because the barn is now a subdivision on the outskirts of town.
So it's a good thing that The other thing I wanted to ask is sometimes we create original works out of something. For instance, there's a perfect example. I talked to an artist once. I said, what's your favorite painting? And he showed it to me and he goes, the entire thing was plein air. He said, but that day, I didn't like the sky. So I changed the sky.
Yeah.
And I know that some artists, they take more than one photograph, and I call this a mashup, by the way. They take more than one photograph and they create a painting, but it's actually using different photographs. You've done this?
Oh, yes, certainly.
You've done this?
Yes, yeah. But I try to keep the basic scene the same.
The integrity of it,
Yeah. but there's, there. When you do the mashup, you kind of have to get the light all going the right direction.
That's right. Yeah.
You can take a photograph directly into the sun, and then with the side angle, and maybe have the sky directly into the sun with the side angle, and the shadows will be messed up.
They'll be messed up, so it won't. So it will look. And I do want to ask you this, because you do a lot of photography. I'm really interested. Digital or 35?
Now digital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way back, I had a dark room
Did you?
and whatnot. But that was well. In fact, I when I was working as a printer, I worked in a dark room for first 20 years. I was at the company and developed occupational asthma from breathing the chemicals.
Breathing those chemicals, which is why a lot of people don't do it anymore, or have changed the way they do printing as well. Do you take umbrage when people go, "Oh, digital, anybody can do that now? It's just point and shoot." And here you are, a photographer. Does that insult you when people do that? You go, my 10-year-old kid can do that.
Well, they can and they can't.
Yeah.
There's. I've seen a lot of bad digital pictures.
Yeah, because they don't have the eye for it.
Well, yeah, they don't compose the figure.
Right.
The one thing I did get way back, I took some photography classes, and the instructor was very keen on composing in the lens.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, you kind of get an idea for, in a way, composing on your paper the same as you do in the lens.
Right. Generally you do rural, you do outside, but I also have seen your life drawing, and this is going to now take us to this organization, which you are really involved in, and it's called the Artifactory. Yeah. First of all, for our viewers, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions here. What is the Artifactory?
Well, the Artifactory is a project that springs out of Arts Iowa City. Arts Iowa City is an organization that's been around for many, many years.
I was deeply involved with it for many years.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're seeking to build a art center for Iowa City.
They are, okay. So right now, where is the Artifactory? Where is it?
In a way, the Artifactory is a virtual existence. At one time, their last permanent location was in the basement of the Wells Fargo. That's now the Metacommunications. What do they call that building? 301?
It's 301, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Arts Iowa City has moved around a lot. It was in the Jefferson building.
It was in the Jefferson building
for years. Yeah, it was for years. So let's talk about where the activities are right now and what type of activities that you do.
So at present, we have two events that we work on. Every third Sunday, at the Senior Center in the assembly room, we have art in the afternoon, where we have different local artists give a presentation of their work. It's kind of a showcase of their art, talk about their history, talk about their background, their techniques, and if it's possible, they demonstrate.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I go to as many of those as I can, and I really want to let our audience know this is a wonderful opportunity to be reacquainted with artists that you think you know. I have learned a lot about artists that, I thought I knew everything about them, but you really learn these great little details, So I think they're terrific, and I love when you bring in these young artists or these international activists who use art for their activism. They're in these war-torn countries, and how important art is for them. I think it's a terrific series.
Yes, in September we had Latif Berholtz, and he's a young man. He's in high school.
Unbelievable, from Kabul. It was just remarkable when you think what you did at 16 and what he's doing. While the bombs are going off, they're doing these art projects. It's just astonishing.
And his are he's doing murals for peace in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I hope him success.
It's really amazing. So generally, who can get involved with Artifactory? And I mean, and how do they get involved?
Well, we have a website.
Okay, so give us the website because we'll put it on the screen. So slowly give us the website.
I'll
and then
have
we'll,
to.
And okay.
Can we cut that in later?
We will cut that in later.
Yeah.
Okay, so that will be edited,
Yeah.
but it's just, so we'll do the website, okay, and then,
Yeah.
and then we'll cut that in. Okay, so you have a website, and so anybody can get involved with the Artifactory then?
Yes, the more volunteers, the better.
Okay, very good. Is there any cost involved to be a member of the Artifactory?
There's no cost involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you take contributions?
Well, when you are on our list, you will be asked to donate.
You will, okay.
Yeah. We're trying to raise money and also seeking out grants
Okay.
and that one individual that wants to put his name on a building.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Now, the artists who get involved with the Artifactory, do they have an opportunity to sell their work?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, indirectly through when they're at the giving an art in the afternoon presentation,
They can sell.
they can give contact to the people.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So they do have the ability to sell their work.
Yeah, we don't have a formal way of doing that.
Okay.
Should also mention that we have one drawing group at this time.
That's why I did bring up the life drawing.
Yeah, we have life drawing on the same third Sunday of the month.
Okay.
And we hold that at Beatology in their back workspace from 5 to 7.
Okay. So if somebody wants to do an activity through the Artifactory, or they want to give a presentation, how do they do that? Is there a particular person they contact?
We have a page on the website
Okay, again, so
that you can fill out your information and
very
volunteer.
good. So
And
everything's the website.
yes, well, that goes to we get their contact information, and then those emails go to me.
Well, this is good. This is good. So really, you are
Yeah,
the main contact. The other thing I wanted to ask you. I know you want an art center. What else are you looking? What else are you looking toward in order to improve what we call the imprint? Don't you love it? The imprint of the Artifactory.
Well, we're talking about expanding the offerings we have through the Artifactory.
Okay.
And right now, because we do not have a building, we're trying to figure out what direction to go.
Okay. All right.
To expand the offerings, and we could do them at Beatology. We could do them here at the Senior Center.
Have any other places like the rec center or the library or the schools? Has anybody else ever offered space to you?
Not at the present time.
Okay.
But
this is what you're looking at.
We're looking at
That's what you're looking at. Okay, so here's a personal question for you. What's your favorite part of the Artifactory? What do you like the most?
What do I like the most? I suppose the art in the afternoons are very good. Yeah, because I kind of work on coordinating, I've gotten to meet the artists a little better than just sitting in the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have a good audience. It's generally made up of other artists, but it's a loyal audience.
It is.
And we do get a lot out of it. I tell you, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, this has been a great interview so far. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you want to bring up? Anything else you want to bring up?
Well, we could. Yeah, the one aspect of my art career was 2004, 2005 time period. I was doing cartoons political cartoons
I
and
noticed-
sending them into the Press
Yeah,
Citizen.
I noticed there were a few of them.
Yeah, there's a
in
few
the
down
case-
there.
In the case.
In the case, without much explanation.
Mhm. I got the Patriot Act
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
As a former library person, I definitely got the Patriot
Yeah.
Act one.
Yeah.
How do you decide because they're generally political, how did you decide as a cartoonist on your subject area?
Oh, usually it's my way of getting digs into
There you go.
the politicians of the day.
So they will always be topical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was drawing a weekly cartoon for Press Citizen.
Okay.
And it was part of their, what do they call it, their writers group.
Yes, which is a very active group here
Yeah.
at the center. Yeah.
And I did it for about a year and a half, and they changed editors.
That's right.
And at that time,
That's right.
that the editor that took the place of Chuck Baldwin was the original
right. That's right.
editor that brought me in. Chuck Baldwin allowed me he liked to have some local cartoons mixed with the national.
The national ones. Mhm.
And I was more of preferred doing the national.
Okay.
The new editor wanted nothing but local.
Okay.
And I said, no.
Can't do it.
Well,
But you had a good year?
yeah, a year and a half. And I did start doing a cartooning for beginners class
Okay.
that I have out in Coralville
Okay.
through the Coralville Rec Center.
Okay.
In fact, I'll have one in February.
That's wonderful.
This is for 8 to 14-year-olds.
Oh, that's got to be
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, that's
gotta be
fun. Yeah.
Because they have a very different perspective of the world.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not doing political cartoons for that. We're doing more, how to maybe take, Fred Flintstone or Homer Simpson, how to draw that, but then also how to make your own
It's very good. It's very good.
and create a story from
Oh,
that.
that's wonderful. Okay. So this is terrific. So I'll give you one more chance here. Anything else before we end this interview?
I think that.
Well, it's been wonderful having you. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you very much. I want to thank our audience for watching today. Have a good afternoon. And
right.
thanks a lot, Bob.
Yeah,
I
thank
really,
you.
really nice.
Yeah, very nice.